Get ready to witness the remarkable growth of Blackrock, a leading global investment management firm under the guidance of CEO Larry Fink. From its modest origins, Blackrock has become a dominant financial force thanks to Fink's insightful vision and effective leadership. With a keen eye for opportunity and a commitment to innovation, Fink has transformed Blackrock into a financial giant poised to shape the future of investing. Discover how his strategies have propelled this company to new heights and positioned it as a leader in the world of finance. From unknown investment firm to a global powerhouse, Blackrock is a company that's unknown to most people, yet it holds control over the majority of U.S. banks. It also owns major pharmaceutical companies and a significant portion of the media, as well as managing around 10% of all stocks traded globally. This has allowed Blackrock to accumulate assets worth $10 trillion, and its worth is equivalent to half of America's GDP. The US and Chinese government have come to depend on Blackrock to overcome economic downturns, and its CEO Larry Fink holds seats on important organizations such as the Council on Foreign Relations and the World Economic Forum. This makes Blackrock the most influential company in the world, with its power to control money as famously stated by Henry Kissinger. Remarkably, Blackrock has accomplished all this in just 34 years. Despite its significant impact, most people have never heard of Blackrock, and the reason for this will become clear after watching the video. To understand how Blackrock has gained such global power, we need to examine the history of how Larry Fink transformed it from a simple investment firm. The ambition-fueled journey of Larry Fink. Larry Fink was born into a wealthy family in Los Angeles in 1952 and had an innate desire for power. He initially pursued a career in politics and earned a BA in political science from the University of California, Los Angeles, but soon realized that money held the real power. He shifted his focus to finance and real estate, leveraging connections he made as a full-time member of the Kappa Beta Phi, a secretive group of wealthy and influential individuals, including Michael Bloomberg and the Goldman Sachs chairman. He started his financial career at First Boston, where he quickly rose through the ranks and became one of the highest-earning employees, generating over $1 billion. However, in 1986, his risky practices caught up with him, and he lost $100 million, causing him to be dismissed from the bank. But he didn't let this setback deter him, and instead used it as an opportunity to focus on risk management. In 1988, he formed Blackrock with some of his Kappa Beta Phi connections, and the company rapidly grew to be worth well over $8 billion in just 5 years. A power struggle between Fink and one of the co-founders eventually led to the latter selling their stake for $250 million. Over the next decade, Fink became increasingly powerful, but his ambition was not satisfied. The ticking time bomb he helped create in his early days at First Boston eventually exploded in 2008, leading to the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression.
Traders say this is the craziest day they have ever seen in these markets. Veteran traders saying they've never seen anything like it. The movement in oil prices so fast.
The most serious recession in decades. And that means life, as most Americans know it, is about to change.
Blackrock and Larry Fink's control over the financial world. Larry Fink, the head of Blackrock, had complete control over the events that led to Blackrock's rise to power. He believed that mortgage-backed securities were the cause of the 2008 financial crisis, and because he had foreseen the crash, Blackrock was able to avoid being affected by it. Instead, they used the crisis as an opportunity to become the most influential company on Wall Street. Blackrock secured a contract to manage the assets of several banks that failed during the crisis through Larry's personal connections with the Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner. However, Blackrock's influence was limited to just Wall Street, and Larry wanted more. To achieve his goal, BlackRock offered exchange-traded funds, or EFTs, which proved to be very popular due to their stability and solid returns. As a result, BlackRock became the leading company in this market and gained control over the financial assets of various organizations, from big banks to small retirement funds. They also invested in almost every major corporation on the stock market. How a pandemic protect became a global powerhouse. The Federal Reserve employed BlackRock to oversee their investments as a protective measure against the potential effects of the coronavirus-driven economic downturn. This reliance on BlackRock has facilitated the company's expansion, transforming its CEO Larry Fink into a billionaire oligarch wielding immense power over not just the economy, but also cultural trends, foreign policy, and even world leaders who are dependent on the banks under his control. BlackRock, which manages assets accounting for 10% of the global economy and holds stakes in all industries such as media, banking, oil, and weapons, is now facing increasingly dire consequences as Larry Fink begins to exert his domination over the world. Control over the media. Together with Vanguard, BlackRock now controls 18% of Fox, 16% of CBS, and 13% of Comcast, which owns NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, and Sky. BlackRock even owns 12% of Disney. This level of control over the media means that for any of these companies to make decisions about company policy, they must consult with BlackRock. BlackRock is also the largest institutional investor in many big tech companies, including Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Amazon. This has extended BlackRock's reach in such a way that it now controls over 90% of the media. Aladdin, the key to power. Larry understood the crucial role that technology would play in the future economy, so BlackRock made a substantial investment in developing a powerful supercomputer called Aladdin. The purpose of this computer is to analyze investments and determine which ones are likely to be profitable. Aladdin currently manages a massive $20 trillion worth of assets for BlackRock, which is even more than the entire U.S. gross domestic product. By utilizing this wealth and assets, BlackRock has gained immense control over the economy and established close connections with governments worldwide. Aladdin, the tool that BlackRock uses, not only has a reach in the media, but has access to all the economic and political data of the world. Aladdin is capable of predicting the outcomes of every investment, and as BlackRock owns banks, insurance companies, pension funds, and some of the largest social media companies, Aladdin has access to a vast amount of personal data on every individual who has given money to BlackRock. This control over data gives BlackRock significant influence over governments, as it can manipulate company and government decisions using this information. As an example, BlackRock has controversially secured a contract to manage the regulation of banks in the EU. But this backroom deal is now under investigation due to BlackRock's ownership of the banks it is supposed to regulate. The impact on society. A 2016 study of the Journal of Finance found that investment companies like BlackRock have a widespread impact on the companies they own stakes in. The problem is only getting worse as BlackRock now owns stakes in nearly all major publicly traded companies and is taking advantage of the current recession to buy as much real estate as possible, causing regular house prices to skyrocket. BlackRock profits when society rents rather than owns their homes, as it can squeeze even more money out of the economy through mortgaging these artificially inflated homes. BlackRock's funding threatens Western democracy. The situation becomes even more concerning when you consider the fact that the power of BlackRock is being influenced by other players. For instance, in August 2020, BlackRock became the first foreign company to gain access to China's mutual and fund industry, allowing it to invest and own shares in Chinese companies. It is unclear what promises BlackRock made to the Chinese Communist Party in exchange for this access, but it now collaborates with companies that are banned in the US, such as Hikvision. This company produces security and communication technology for the Chinese government, both for civilian and military use, and has a notorious record of human rights violations. BlackRock's funding of authoritarian regimes poses a threat to Western democracy, as it strengthens nations like China and Russia. The company recently recommended that its investors triple their investments in China, which would result in billions of dollars flowing into the repressive regime at the expense of the West. China regards the companies within its borders as extensions of the state, so any increase in Chinese investments would not only increase BlackRock's influence, but also China's. Since August 2020, BlackRock has continued to pour more money into the Chinese companies. BlackRock leads ESG movement despite criticisms. BlackRock, one of the largest investment management companies in the world, has been a major influencer in the socially responsible investment movement. CEO Larry Fink's letters to all companies under BlackRock's control in 2018 emphasized the importance of companies taking a more socially responsible approach, warning that failure to do so could result in BlackRock's support being withdrawn. Despite this message, BlackRock's investments have faced criticism for being associated with the persecution of Muslims and the imprisonment of Chinese citizens, and for contributing to the potential threat to Western civilization. The Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance Score is a metric used to evaluate a company's political and social actions. Companies can boost their ESG score by implementing environmentally friendly practices and avoiding political controversies on social media. Adam Curry, an American podcaster, mentioned in a podcast that companies now display their ESG scores on their investor relations page. However, he pointed out that the ESG score system has its limitations and can be seen as superficial, as companies can easily receive a higher score by simply stating their support for green initiatives and trading carbon credits. Investors are paying close attention to ESG scores, and big investors such as insurance companies and institutional investors are steering clear of companies with low ESG scores. The growing trend of socially responsible investment is a reflection of the world's evolving values and priorities. How BlackRock is shaping our globalized world. According to the patterns of the past, it appears that BlackRock, one of the world's largest investment management firms, will continue to exert an ever-increasing level of control in our daily lives. The firm, headed by Larry Fink, has strong connections to government leaders globally and holds a prominent position on the Council on Foreign Relations. This position, combined with BlackRock's significant influence over the World Economic Forum, allows the company to hold a great deal of sway over the world economy and to continue to grow its reach. The state of affairs could signal the dawn of a new era of our globalized world, where corporations, particularly those with predatory practices, hold more power than governments. Our political and social systems are no longer shaped by the votes of citizens, but rather by the decisions made by investment boards controlled by companies like BlackRock. This, in turn, is leading to a generic, mindless, and cruel cultural landscape where companies like BlackRock exert an ever greater level of control over our daily lives. BlackRock's dominance, divide, and unhappiness. BlackRock represents a world divided between a small number of dominant corporations and a population of powerless, penniless, and unhappy citizens. These corporations purchase our homes, manipulate currency values, and profit from global conflicts and unrest. This is why it's becoming increasingly difficult to purchase a home and why society is becoming increasingly divided. The influence of too big to fail companies like BlackRock is shaping the world we live in today, and it's a world that is far from ideal. Rather than operating under a true free market capitalism, we now live in a system that benefits the wealthy at the expense of the rest of society. The consequences of this trend are likely to be far-reaching and potentially devastating, and it's imperative that we take action to prevent this situation from getting worse. In conclusion, BlackRock is the most influential company in the world, with assets worth $10 trillion, equivalent to half of America's GDP. BlackRock rose to prominence during the 2008 financial crisis when it secured a contract to manage assets for failed banks and became the leading company in the exchange trade funds market. The company also invests heavily in technology, using its supercomputer Aladdin to analyze investments and control a significant portion of the world's economy and political data. BlackRock's influence extends to the media, as it's the biggest institutional investor in major media companies and has control over more than 90% of the information that's distributed. Despite its significant impact, BlackRock is largely unknown to the public due to its control of the media and access to personal data. That's all for this video. To make sure you're updated with our latest videos, hit the like button and the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel and activate that notification bell. Until we meet again, take care and thanks for watching.